So as you follow your breathing, notice if the energy of the thoughts is quietening down. Keep bringing your attention back to the sensation of the breath or the movement of the diaphragm. We're just going to follow the breath in silence for 2 or 3 minutes. So at the beginning of any Dharma activity, there will be a meditation or a teaching or anything of the kind. It's recommended to start with motivation. And so we will recite the Refuge and Bodhicitta prayer in a moment. Just before we do that, let's take a few moments to reflect on your motivation for being here tonight. What has decided you to come and take part in this course? And then, having reminded yourself of that, then we try to enter into the activity this evening, keeping that motivation in mind. I'm going to share my screen so that we get the same words for the Refuge and Bodhicitta, which is here. Okay. Okay. So we recite it 3 times. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merit from giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merit from giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merit from giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Okay. So I thought we'd begin with introducing ourselves, although some of us know each other, but some of us don't, possibly. And I guess I should begin. I can't see Beth, so I don't know if that is a Beth that I know or a Beth that I don't know. But I think I've met all of you before, but I'll introduce myself anyway. So I'm David, and this is my 25th year of teaching for Jamyang Centre Leeds. And it's also a year when I'm embarking on a lot of new study myself of the Dharma and training, and feeling that, after 25 years, maybe I'm just really beginning to get started. I do want to say that, deepening into Dharma practice, I really feel very sincerely that I'm not so much here as a teacher as just, I want to kind of come on a journey with you, and we're all individually and together see how we can deepen, enrich our experience of practicing. Especially meditation. I mean, Dharma is more than meditation, but meditation is the heart of the Dharma. And I wanted to, create a course that emphasizes that more. So I'm really looking forward to going on that journey with you. So it'd be great if you could introduce yourself and say a little bit about your interest, why you particularly wanted to come take part in this course. Looks like somebody's coming and going there. Okay. And there's this there's this awkward Zoom pause which seems to happen. So I'm just going to go clockwise around my screen. So there's no kind of, you know, order of priorities here. I'm just going to start with Lindsay. Brilliant. Yes, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say that unfortunately today I can't stay for the whole of the session. So if I suddenly disappear, my apologies in advance. Okay. And now I'll be quiet.
Well, actually, come to think of it, Lynn, as you're on the center of my screen, maybe I'll start with you and then I'll go round clockwise, because if you may have to go soon, I know. So yes, do you want to start then?
Okay, thank you, David. And apologies, Lindsay. I suppose I've been seriously studying the Dharma for the last couple of years, although before that I was interested, but only at the beginning of my journey, I suppose. And so it seemed a very logical thing for me to do, to come on this course. I like the idea of studying particular texts. Just so people know, I just recently got to the end of Discovering Buddhism, and I'm planning to go on to the basic program in Leeds when it starts in September next year. So I think this is going to be a really interesting thing for me to do over the next year. So that's it from me for the moment.
Thank you, Lynn. Thanks very much. So Lindsay, do you want to go next?
Okay. So Lindsay, and decided to come along to the course this evening because I liked, hearing a little bit about it from David in the previous course. I like the idea of a longer course than sort of a shorter module, if you like, something that was going to take us over a longer period of time. And because I think the idea was that what we're going to be doing is going to very much support whatever our personal practice is and help us to develop that. And again, like Lynn, I like the idea of the texts, but just hoping I'm not taking on too much, because I've enrolled for basic program with Geshe Namdak starting soon, and other things going on that I'm studying. So I just have to make sure I'm not taking on too much and able to do it. But so yeah, the choice was to do David's and a basic program.
Great, thank you. And just to say, there wasn't going to be like masses of reading homework or anything like that.
Okay, that's okay then.
Just, there will be the class once a week, and then there'll be your practice, and then there's a few other things that are available. But it's not going to. I don't think it's going to add sort of stress to your schedule in that way.
That should be fine. Yeah, well, that's great then, because I just like the idea of this is going to be, I understand from what you're saying, very supportive of what we're each individually doing. And I think that was my main motivation for coming. And it's just nice to see everybody as well.
I said it clockwise, but now you've changed around a bit. So Stuart will be next then if I'm going clockwise. Stuart. Yeah.
Well, I'm afraid I missed your bit, David, because I got thrown out for some reason. I'm not sure why. But anyway, I'll perhaps watch the recording and then I'll find out who you are and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I first came across Buddhism when I was 21, back in 1981. So a long time ago, really. And I've sort of been through a lot of different sort of Buddhist traditions. When I worked in Birmingham, I sort of went to the Carmeling, which was a Tibetan centre of a different tradition. I first went to a Zen group, which is still meeting in Nottingham. And in fact, what I'll probably do after we finish now is I'll go on to that. So Zoom has opened up a whole new sort of prospect for me. And also I retired in February. So I've now got both the time and the inclination to find out about, different traditions in Buddhism. So I'm afraid I'm a bit like a butterfly at the moment. I'm going from school, Zoom to Zoom to Zoom. Anyway, so I'm probably saying too much now, but I really enjoyed your last course. So when I saw that this was on offer, I was really pleased. Anyway, that's me. There you go.
Thanks. And I will just briefly respond to what you're saying about different traditions. That you know, I'll be saying a bit about this on this course, because this first term we won't be, the text we're following is not from the Tibetan tradition. So I'm going to say be saying a little bit about, you know, the relationship between the different traditions. So that might be helpful. Yeah.
Well, when I first, I'll just say one more thing if I can. When I first encountered Buddhism, what really impressed me was the fact that, you know, people were encouraged to look at different traditions. It was seen as very inclusive. Anyway, that's enough of me.
Thank you. Okay. So Beth, I don't. You haven't spoken yet. Would you be willing to unmute yourself and say a bit about yourself? That's quite fine if you don't wish to do that. Just going to ask her if she can hear us. So I don't know, she may just be wanting to listen in, and that's fine. So I'll go to Daniel.
Hello, I'm Daniel. I've also been practicing since I was about 21, but not that long, just a few years. And I wanted to come to this course because I think since the lockdown, maybe I've had more time to like practice personally, but I think I've been missing out a bit on like the community and people to practice with. So I thought it'd be nice to come along to this and to go through something like in depth as well. I thought it'd be quite nice, not something I've done before.
Great. Well, thank you for coming along. You're very welcome. Okay. Adam, would you like to go say a few words?
Hello, my name's Adam. Why am I here? Yeah, because meditation, as David said, is the heart of the path, really, isn't it? And for me, I think that personally, I think it's for me the most important, because it's where we get to see if the mind, if it's possible to change the mind, to focus the mind, to develop good qualities. And practice of meditation creates space in the mind and enables you then to be more aware of what's happening. So this is why I'm here.
That sounds like a very good reason. It's kind of like why I've created the course. Yeah. I am creating. I haven't created it. I'm only creating as I go along. But yeah. Anyway, it's great. Thank you, Adam. So Mel, now you're in the middle, so you get to go last.
Well, I'm kind of here by accident, and I'm listening to you all. I'm thinking, oh my God, have I got myself signed up for another year course? I did see on the email that there were some new things coming up, and I thought, oh, I need to check that out. And then today I've had quite a bad day, and then I thought, oh, I need some class, or I need somewhere, and because I've been doing spiritual stuff throughout lockdown, but I haven't really had much Buddhist class. And I just felt like I needed it, and I looked on the site at 6 o'clock, and I thought, oh, that's starting at 6:30, hurry up, cookie tea, blah, blah, blah. So here I am. So I didn't know it were a year-long course. And, I might end up doing it for the next year, but I needed some anyway, so thanks for having it.
Well, thank you very much, Mel. It's lovely to have you with us. And I will just say, that question of commitment, which I'm going to talk about this evening, you know, that you're not signed up for a full year. That's entirely up to you. So there are, each term is going to be a different aspect of the Dharma. And you're quite welcome to come for one term or 3 terms or one evening, you know, but I'm going to say a bit more about that later on. It's there's another twist to it, which I will add later on. Well, perhaps I'll add it now, actually, because you've also said your introduction, so I may as well say it now. One of the things I thought about this course is, you know, about this question of commitment. Should it be one of the things you have to sign up and come to all the classes, or is it going to be a drop-in idea? And I thought, well, there's a lot of benefits to making a commitment, and possibly, not just popping into the class, but also doing stuff in between the classes and so on. And it's nice to have that kind of structure if you want to use it. But I didn't want to exclude anybody who didn't want to do that or couldn't do that for any reason. So what I decided is I'll make it a choice, and you won't have to choose tonight. But during this first week, I'm going to ask you to decide, are you in for the 10 weeks, and, to do whatever kind of, as far as you can, obviously, if there is homework, which will be mainly meditation. There'll be a little bit of reading, but it'll be mainly meditation. So you can take your time to think about it. And you will each have a buddy, a study buddy. Okay. So you'll meet your study buddy tonight for this week. But when you meet, so the idea is you get together for like however long. It might be half an hour, more than an hour, I'm sure, probably half an hour, just to talk about how things are going and share your own wisdom and thoughts about how that you can help each other out, and support each other with the practice. So that's one element. That will be initially for this week, but if you want to stay with that person and they want to stay with you, if you decide, yes, we've kind of clicked, we want to stay together for the 10 weeks, then you can decide that. And then if I do breakouts in pairs, I'll have to figure out who's meant to go with who. But if I decide to put you with your buddies, but the main idea is you've got somebody that is there to support you, and maybe you can agree, well, if I've got something I want to talk about, I can ring that person up. So that would be part of, well, actually that's available anyway, but that's one part of how I thought this structure might work. And the other part is that if you are deciding that you're going to stick with this, I don't want to call it a module, actually. I don't know what to call it, part one of the course, or the whole course, then I am offering to, everybody. I was going to say at least one-to-one session, but as there's not as many people as I thought there might be, so it could be more than one. And I thought that's very important, so I'm going to say, actually, if we're staying this kind of numbers, I'm happy to make it at least 2, so that, and that can be pretty much, like when you need it, when you feel you want it. You might decide you want it the first week, or you might decide you want it, halfway through. Obviously, as long as that fits in with my schedule, I'm not on retreat or something. But that would be another part. So, as I say, I'll ask you to let me know by email before the next class if you are deciding you want to do the full 10 weeks and kind of, that you're in. And if you're not, it's absolutely fine. You might come to all the classes anyway, but you might not want to make that commitment. But I just think it's very helpful, if you are able to, it does support you to make a commitment to the class. Okay, so I've said a little bit about the aim of the course, and I think Adam summed it up quite well, really. That and I've been practicing in this tradition, like Stuart, a little bit longer actually. Well, you're the 39 years. I've been 40 years, 1 year more than you. But it's been consistently within this tradition. But I have practiced in other traditions as well. So I've done a few Theravada retreats and 1 or 2 Zen retreats and a few other things of that kind. And I'm very interested in other Buddhist traditions and in how they relate to each other, and in as well how you can combine the practices from the different traditions. I think there are a lot of people who don't do that, and there are people who seem to have the point of view that you shouldn't. But that's not, for instance, the point of view of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. He encourages us to, I think, probably only more recently he's kind of explicitly been encouraging people to practice outside of the Tibetan tradition altogether. But he's always advocated, don't just be a Nyingma or a Gelugpa, follow the other traditions as well. But I think he's now seeming to say more, you should explore and get to know other traditions as well. Maybe not in the first year of your practice, but as your practice develops, it can be very helpful, and we get insights about how to practice that from those other traditions. So, as I mentioned, this term, I don't know, some of you might be aware, but I didn't actually advertise it on the write-up on the website, what the course text is for this term, and it's this book, The Heart. I'm seeing that back to front. I don't know about you. You're probably seeing it right around, aren't you? The Heart of Buddhist Meditation. Yeah. So does anybody know this book? Put your hand up if you know this book already. Stuart knows it, yeah, because you go back a long way. It was quite popular. It was actually, I think this edition was published in 1980. It was written quite a number of years beforehand. It's by a Theravada monk by the name of Nyanaponika Thera. And he's actually German, or was, I don't think he's alive anymore, but he was kind of, this book really has a very high reputation. I think, I feel that it is possibly the best meditation instruction book that I've ever read. And it is usually the kind of form of meditation that it talks about is referred to as vipassana. Vipassana has different meanings in different traditions. It refers to different practices anyway. It means insight, but it's linked to different aspects of the practice in different traditions. This text, although it's a similar form of meditation to what you'll usually come across as vipassana in the Theravada tradition, he refers to it as satipatthana. Sati, the word sati is the word that is translated into English as mindfulness. And satipatthana, he's translated it as the foundations of mindfulness. And it refers to a teaching given by the Buddha. One of the most important sutras in the Pali canon from the Theravada tradition. It's known as the Satipatthana Sutra, or he's translated here the sutra on the four foundations of mindfulness. So it is mindfulness, actually, what we're doing here. And mindfulness isn't just the kind of baby form of Buddhism for the general public, It's really right at the heart of the Buddha's teaching. And in the Tibetan tradition, we do hear about mindfulness, but it is it's associated with different aspects of the practice to what is being talked about here. It's not really, in the Tibetan tradition, it's not really kind of seen as a system of meditation, a method of meditation. Mindfulness is seen as a mental factor, a quality, that we try to develop that is useful. It's important in meditation, and it's also important in daily life. And in daily life, it has a slightly different application. But here, as well as being that mental quality, that mental factor of people talk about present moment awareness. I guess that is a large part of it. It's perhaps not the whole of what mindfulness is in this meaning that we're looking at in this terms part of the course. But it is also a form of meditation in its own right. And I've never taught mindfulness as such before. It was the first time in 25 years of teaching. And the reason is because I certainly, until fairly recently anyway, I felt like, well, it's an area of weakness in my own practice, you know. So although I could have probably made quite a bit of money, I could easily have set myself up as a mindfulness teacher and gone out and taught mindfulness as people do, or, you know, done some course and taught it. I thought, well, actually, it's not what I'm really good at. So part of the reason why I wanted to be absolutely honest with you, you know, part of the reason why I wanted to do it this term is to deepen my own practice of mindfulness. But however, I have been practicing it quite a lot more lately for various reasons. Partly the lockdown, you know, it's been given this incredible gift of almost a semi-permanent retreat at the moment, which has made it easier. But also because I'm recently embarked on, like you, Lindsay, you know, multiple courses at the same time. So I'm doing this, I'm teaching this, I'm teaching the Eco Dharma course, and I'm also studying the basic program with Geshe, and I'm also studying another 6-month training with the Compassion Institute in America. And that training is kind of like, you can say it builds on the sort of secular mindfulness training that, you know, the sort of MBSR and MBCT and so on, that from the mindfulness network in the UK and other organizations. But I've never taught that. But as I say, this book I read way back in probably 1981, and it made a very deep impression on me. It really it's one of the most clear, detailed instructions on how to meditate that I know, and it really I think, you know, what's in there could take you very deep indeed. So part of the reason, as I say, why I wanted to do this is that I wanted to study it myself. I mean, the book, it's not particularly difficult to understand. It's not a particularly long book, and there are, although it's sort of, you know, average size, but actually there's 3 parts to the book. There's the main text, his own kind of instruction or you know, writing about mindfulness and how to practice it. Then there's a translation of the sutra, which is itself is fairly long, and then as an anthology of readings on mindfulness, which is really lovely. Actually, it's not just from the Theravada tradition, but from the other traditions as well. So it's an opportunity for us to really go into a bit of depth here. You know, it's one topic that's explained in great detail of a practice of how to meditate. So it is worth studying the book. As I say, it was not going to take a massive amount of your time to read it carefully and take it in, think about it, and try and apply it in your daily practice. And also the sutra itself, it repays rereading over and over again. It's a very powerful, profound text, one of the most important sutras in the Pali Canon. Okay, so yeah, so we'll hear more about that as we go along. By the way, do stop me for questions if you've got questions about any of this. I see we've lost Stuart again, and no doubt he'll return. Yes, Lindsay.
So, David, yeah, do we require a copy of that each then for this
Good
section
question,
of the course?
Yes, yes. So I definitely recommend that. If you're, I mean, I would say if you're wanting to commit, as it were, if you're saying, yes, I'm in, I want to do it properly, I want to kind of, you know, do it thoroughly, then you definitely will need it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to scan a few pages with the first chapter of the book.
Okay.
And that on email so that you can actually start reading it, you know, because it'll take time to get the copy.
Sure.
I was hoping that this would be a face-to-face course, and then we would have had copies. I think there possibly are copies in the Jamming Bookshop. I did ask for it to be got, but that situation's not like that. So yeah. I didn't actually double check that it's still in print, but I'd be very surprised if it's gone out of print. It's quite a popular book, and I know it was in print very recently.
Okay.
So it shouldn't be hard to get a copy. And yeah, I mean, you know, it's a book to treasure and read over and over again.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah. So next,
can I just say,
yeah,
I keep getting thrown out. So
yeah.
If I disappear, I will try and come back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you get the name of the book, Stuart?
Oh, I've got the book. Yeah.
You've got the book. Okay. Oh, yeah. You said you knew the book. Yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Excellent. Okay. Yeah. So no doubt you can confirm it's a very good book. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I just want to say a word about motivation. Yeah. I mean, this is the time to talk about it at the beginning. And I'm sure you all understand that motivation is centrally important to any spiritual practice. It's not that it's more important in Buddhist practice than any other. It's the same in any spiritual practice. Your motivation is the absolute kind of foundation. But I think it's more kind of clearly sort of stated in Buddhism. You hear it over and over again how important motivation is. And that is a lovely quote from Lama Zopa about it. You know, he says, all existence depends on the tip of a wish. Right, let that sink in. Your intention, your motivation has incredible power. So what you create in your life, the life that you create for yourself, is solely the product of your motivation, your intention, right? Whether it be conscious or unconscious intention, you know, you are navigating your way through your life, following through the motivations that have arisen in your mind and your decisions that follow from that. Sometimes you find yourself doing things, you don't know why you're doing them, but if you look inside, kind of question yourself and bring awareness to what's going on, you realize, oh yeah, years ago I decided I wanted to do this. Or you find something's happening, I didn't expect that. And then you know, like, you might find you've written in your diary 10 years ago. I don't want to kind of make it sound mysterious. It's not mysterious at all. It's very straightforward. But the reason why I'm emphasizing it is because it's very, very easy to take it for granted and say, well, of course, you know, I'm attending this course because I want to get enlightened to save all sentient beings from suffering. Yeah. End of story. Well, how real is that for you? You know, what's real for you? What brought you here? What brought you to Jamyang Buddhist Center Leeds, or what brought you to Buddhism itself? I think it's an inquiry that's really it's always worth revisiting that inquiry, even if you've looked at it quite a lot already, because the more deeply you get in touch with the tap roots of your own motivation, the more clear you are about what your motivation is, then that will really empower your practice, and it will kind of guide your practice along the best direction. So, yeah, I mean, that's really part of the homework for this week, but we'll also look at it in a moment in breakout pairs. And I just wanted to say a couple of other things about motivation. One is, you know, an element in motivation is aspiration, right? You know, I'm doing this because I want to achieve such and such. Like, you know, like I'm, whether it's sensible or not, but I, you know, I continue to practice the piano and hoping that one day I'm going to be able to play it well. You know? So my aspiration at the moment is, you know, I want to play the first of Chopin's etude studies. You know, I want to play it note perfect at a quarter speed. That's my current ambition. And my real aspiration, what I'd really love to do, is to be able to play the whole thing note perfect at half speed, and I would be so happy if I could do that. So what's your aspiration? Now, we tend to think too small. right? I want to let that sink in. If your aspiration is kind of middling, well, you're going to get a middling result. And we tend to have a less than, not have the big aspiration because we feel, oh, well, I'm too small, I can't do that. That's beyond me. I'm not going to succeed. And I really encourage you to be very suspicious of that thought. Our potential is limitless. The Buddha was very clear about this. Our potential is limitless. Each one of you has amazing potential. And we are often not in touch with it. So, when I talk about aspiration, I'm not saying, oh, well, in 10 weeks, I want to attain nirvana. That's not very sensible. But be serious with yourself, what do you really want? So it's very good to spend that time looking at it, to get clear and to find out the truth, tell the truth to yourself and not be too influenced by other stories about what you think it should be or what other people have said, but try to find out in yourself why you really are doing this and where you want to go, and don't kill off the thought that if it sounds too grandiose. Well, when somebody came to me recently, and well, he'd actually been coming to me for quite a long time, but after a while of sort of talking about other things, he'd said he wanted to, what he was kind of coming for some coaching about problems that he'd had in his life. And then one week he came and he said, well, I haven't really got any problems this week. And I said, well, what do you want? And he said, well, I want nirvana. I said, okay, well, we'll work on that then. So he knows it's going to take a long time, maybe more than one lifetime, but that's where he's aiming his sights. So you can aim your sights, very high long term, or kind of fairly high medium term, be realistic, but don't underestimate what you can do. So the other thing about motivation, something that tends to sap our motivation, is we find it difficult to be consistent with our practice, and the thing with anything like this, I find it difficult. I find it difficult to visualize. I find it difficult to kind of focus my attention on the breath. It was really helpful to know everybody finds those things difficult. So it's not that you have some deficiency that because you can't visualize. Like, actually, not true that everybody does. I find some people find visualization very easy. It's a small minority of people, that have that kind of visual sense. Some people can, follow their breathing and stop the thoughts completely, quite relatively easily. There's very few of those people. Most people find it extremely difficult. So, once you know that, but once you know what the other secret is, nevertheless, if you persevere, you will get those results. Because our automatic tendency is, well, I've been trying for weeks and I'm still can't follow my breathing, so I'm going to give up. Well, but I've been trying for years, literally decades, and I'm starting to get somewhere, just starting to get somewhere. It's great. I'll be very open about it. I'll be very upfront about it. It was about 6-7 years ago, I think. I was on retreat with Geshe Tashi, and because of the way that he gave us instruction, I was able to get somewhere with it. And by the end of the retreat, I was actually being able to follow my breathing for several minutes with hardly a thought. Now, this was on a retreat. This is not, I can't do that, every day now. If I'm very lucky, I can follow. I count sets of 7 breaths. And if I'm very lucky, I can stay for one set of 7 breaths without a thought. That's on a good day. So, and that's good. So, if you're finding it difficult, join the club. Welcome to the club. But it is worth it. It's worth persevering. So yeah. That's pretty much all I wanted to say, I think. I'm just, to re-emphasize this thing about commitment. I think that's, if you get those three things, it's like get clear about your motivation, what's my aspiration, what do I, my goal, great. And then that consistency, that don't give up, keep, if the consistency is all over the place, don't worry, just keep working on it and it will get better. That's all good. And then this thing about commitment, that's something else as well. And that also takes time to develop. So I know, some of the people here, I know you've got tremendous commitment, but it probably varies with different people. But the commitment is a deeper thing than just kind of, well, I'm really, I'm willing to work hard for 10 weeks so that I can have a little bit of clear mind and be calmer and more relaxed and so on. And great. But this journey is about something bigger than that as well. So that deeper commitment to the long term, that's very important, very beneficial, So that's an inquiry that we need to keep coming back to. You can't just manufacture it at the flick of a switch. It's something that deepens over the years. And to have that level of commitment, we need a lot of certainty as well about the Dharma. And that's something that only grows with time. We need to, can't just kind of take it on board because somebody says so, even if it's the Dalai Lama. We have to question ourselves and explore and understand it in our own way. Okay, so that's me for the time being. And in a moment, we're going to go into breakout rooms, or you are. So for about 10 minutes, and you'll be with one other person, and that person will be your buddy for the week. And so you can talk about that. And the idea is you will, I'm just going to have to actually, have to check with Beth if she wants to be involved in this process, because that's very important. Yeah, not sure what happens if we have an odd number, if Beth's not going to be participating, but she hasn't said anything yet, so we'll see.
I don't mind not having anybody.
Okay, well, it can always be picked up later. There will be other people on the call next time, so all right, great, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, just 10 minutes to discuss about those things, really. Motivation, commitment, how useful do you think it will be to spend 10 weeks practicing mindfulness, and swap emails or phone numbers or whatever you need to do so that you connect during the week. And we'll come back in 10 minutes. Any questions before we go into the breakouts? Okay, I will do that, and I'll possibly pop in, or I think you can message me from the breakout room, can't you? If I'm the host. Just if anybody's in a breakout room with Beth, I just want to make sure that that's okay. Okay. Oh, sorry. So yeah. Oh. What? Okay, I think that'll do. Right, off you go, 10 minutes. So it looks like Beth's not joining, so okay. So we can hang out then, Adam.
Okay, you all right? Everything going okay?
Yes, yes, very good, very good. Yeah, yeah, compassion cultivation training program, extremely good. But there was a big shock. Big shock.
What sort of things are you doing?
Oh, what we're doing? Well, at the moment, there's the first module, 8 weeks of just practice, basically.
Okay, good.
We're going through the CCT course again. I'm having a weekly sort of teaching session about how to teach it and all kinds of different exercises and things. There's quite a bit to it. But there was a big shock on Tuesday because there was an announcement, suddenly came out of the blue. So, you know, up to now, in order to teach CCT, you've had to have done this 6-month in-depth teacher training.
Right, right.
And they suddenly announced that's not the case anymore. They're putting it in the public domain, so anybody can teach it. So it's like, well, we paid $2,000, you know, to do this training. But also it means that, you know, they're discontinuing it.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. Will that not have an effect on the quality though, if people haven't done the course and all that?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, these things were being said. So we had there was a big kind of ding dong with the director. He came into the class and we spent an hour, and he was getting absolutely, you know, gunned down.
Is this a thing by Tumta Jimpa?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway. Okay. So.
Difficult. Just going to turn my light on because it's gone completely dark. Wait a second. Yeah. Well, we have light. Much better. Oops. It's not my text on the floor. Are you doing the Land of Joy retreat starting on Friday?
Yes. Yeah, so I'm doing multiple overlapping courses like this. Seize the chance, you know, while it's all like this.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that'd be good. Well, I'll see you there tomorrow.
Yeah, great. Okay. Looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be excellent.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I do manage to do the short sadhana every day, but that's all. I've done the long one once. maybe twice. I think twice. But shortened version of the long one, not the long one. Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, I did think there'd be more people this evening, but maybe, you know, there's so many other courses going on. That's
yeah. But you mean, like you said, this wasn't sort of particularly pushed or advertised?
It wasn't at all.
It just sort of snuck in on the calendar. I thought,
yeah, and I think that's less than ideal, really. Yeah, yeah, no, that should have happened. I've suggested somebody to help with the marketing again, because I think we need that. We're not.
Yeah, what happened with that?
Oh well. Oh, I see.
Because there was somebody that was doing it, weren't there? There was a lady.
There was, and she was fantastic. But she only had like she only had a limited availability. So she was doing a day a week for about 6 weeks, I think, and she was great. But I don't know whether all of the recommendations are actually still being followed or anything like that. So yeah.
Time, I guess. Time. And I suppose that Jay's doing a lot with the building as well.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. But really, it's so fundamental. Like it's the. I mean, you could fall down on a lot of other things, but if you fall down on the marketing, well, people don't show up, and then you haven't got, you might have a fantastic program, but nobody turns up. Yeah. So I'm slightly disappointed with that because I really, I was really keen to do this course. I mean, I could have been more proactive myself, but I'm so busy with other things, Passion Festival completely taken over my life.
How's that going?
Oh well, it's gone. It's finished. But
oh, great.
Yeah, I mean, it will continue. There'll be another one. But yes, it went really well. Yeah, but again, we had, it was the same problem. Like we didn't get as many people as we would have liked to have done. The kind of the quality of the events and merited a lot more people than we got. But
I was under the impression that it was spaced out throughout the year. Am I misunderstanding? Were there like events spaced out?
There are additional events. Yeah. There are. There is mainly in 1 week, but there are kind of follow-on events. Yeah, and it will continue. The whole project is continuing. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I'm just gonna message people. Okay, so you finished now, Adam, or have you got more to do? But you see, you've done your dissertation. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yay.
So what's the plan going forward, if any?
What's the plan? What do you mean, life or work or both?
Yeah, both. Hopefully they overlap.
Yeah, work as little as possible and practice as much as possible.
Right. That sounds fun to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Because life's short.
Yeah. We could do online horticulture courses on Zoom and make a load of money.
Yeah, but everyone will be useless because they've not actually ever touched a plant, right?
It is strange, isn't it? It's quite strange. I mean, I'm getting used to it, and in many ways, for me, it's great. Because I don't have an urgent need to earn income. I'm spending money on courses, but this CCT training cost me actually 5% of what it would have cost me if I'd done the one in Denmark.
Wow.
Well, that's not quite accurate. Not quite accurate because
that's ridiculous.
Yeah. But when I first applied for it in the States, it was going to be $8,000. And I said, well, I'll apply for a 50% bursary, and if Jamian can pay half the rest, I can pay the 25% of my tuition fees plus all the travel, because 2 return transatlantic flights and a lot of other expense probably on top of that. So I was just about willing to go, to that extent. It probably cost me $4,000 altogether. Then the one that didn't happen, and then the one in Denmark was the course fee was £17,000. Just
the course fee?
Yeah. Well, that was that's right. The actual course fee was a bit less, but then there's another bit that you have to do, which is you have to do that to get the certification. So effectively, it was $17,000 to do the course.
Jeez.
And I said, well, you know,
Was that not including accommodation? But that was including accommodation, right?
yes, it was. But
Yeah.
but I was only the 2 5-day retreats. I mean, the most of it's you know, online in between.
Okay.
Denmark's like, you know.
Yeah, it's not that much more expensive. It's
It
about
is
what
quite a
London
bit more
price.
expensive, but it's amazing. Yeah. Anyway, that was out of the question, and then it never happened. But then when they decided, well, we are going to do it online. They had never done it online before, and it was $2,500, and Jamang's paying, and they gave me a 50% bursary. It was $4,500, and they gave me 50%, so it was $250, and then Jamang paid half the rest, so it cost me £850 instead of 17,000.
Yeah, jeez. Blessing in disguise.
Anyway, it's time for them to come back now. Okay, we're still waiting for Stuart, and I know he may drop out. Who was in the room with Stuart? Was that
Might be in Lindsay.
Lindsay? Oh, okay, so they haven't come back yet. They both dropped out. It does sometimes happen that people drop out when they try to come back from the. Oh, they're still in there. Oh, here they come. Yeah. That's it. Okay. And here's Stuart. Okay, great. Okay, we're all back. Thank you. Yeah, so would be interesting to hear a little bit about what came up in the breakouts. So Adam and Beth weren't in breakout room. Would anybody like to share anything that came up that was of interest, or any questions that arose?
Well, I had the very modest aspiration, and you told us not to sort of be too limited. So I want to nurture the Buddha seed in me. That's what I want to do, and I want a calmer mind, and you know, I hope to help other people do that as well. So that's a very grand proposal.
Well, it is, isn't it? I mean, you know, it's of course it's gradual, but that is, you know, if you're nurturing the Buddha seed, and if you keep doing that, eventually it becomes like, you know, if you were nurturing a rose seed, eventually you'd have a rose. If you're nurturing a Buddha seed, eventually you'll have a Buddha. I defer to Adam on that one, but okay, yeah, great, thank you, brilliant. Yes, anyone else like to share something or any questions?
We ended up talking about like noticing how far we've come along in our practice, like noticing a situation where previously you might have got angry, and then noticing the difference, and I guess how that could be used as like a motivation.
Yeah, really good point, Daniel. Thank you. Yes, absolutely, it can, and I think, you know, it's something to do often. Dalai Lama always says, you know, don't compare your practice from day to day or from week to week, but at least from month to month, and preferably from year to year. And if you look from year to year, or if you look over, if you've been practicing for 5 years, if you look over 5 years, then if you're not seeing a difference, there's something not right, you know. But generally, you know, then you project that, right? Okay, so if it's the same amount different in 5 years' time as it is now from 5 years ago, that can be a big motivator. So thinking about if my life improves as much over the next 5 years as it has over the last 5 years as a result of the practice. Of course, it's not always like that, you know. Sometimes it can seem your life can fall apart, you know. and then it seems, oh gosh, you know, it hadn't worked after all. But then if you hang in there, you usually find, well, I would say always actually, you know, you may go through a period like that. But if your practice is based on a sound foundation, and I would say if you're practicing in, you know, in our tradition, it is the tradition of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, you know, so it is a sound foundation. So if that kind of thing does happen, you know, which it can sometimes happen, it seems like, you know, I've fallen apart again. It's important there to recognize that that is it's a transitional process. You know, it's something that you're having to go through, and on the other side of that is, I mean, I would say, you know, when that happens, when you get to the other side, A, you will get to the other side, and B, when you get to the other side, it's much better than if it had just been steady progress, because that sort of progress of having to fall apart and then put yourself back together again is actually very powerful, and it is a part of the spiritual path. But anyway, a great thought there, Daniel. Yes, use the progress that you've already made as a motivator. So even if it may have been slow, but when you compare and think, well, would I go back to how it was before? And the answer for me is definitely no. So going in the same direction for another few years, quite a good prospect. Yeah. Anything else? Well, would you like to share anything? What came up for you?
Well, I've decided I'm going to commit.
Oh, good for you, Mel.
Yeah, and it's just made me feel a bit better anyway. Like we're having that discussion that you can beat yourself up a bit, can't you? You know, but then when you think, well, actually, at least I'm not like what I'd been like years ago, and we're allowed to fall off at wagon, and here I am, I'm getting back on it. So instead of feeling whatever, and then hopefully, as these next few weeks progress, I'll get back into, well, my old self, but my new self. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't even know where my head's at these days. So I'm hoping this will just get me grounded again.
Okay, that would be wonderful, man. I think that feels to me like a good decision for you. I think, you know, that kind of grounding, stability is something that is important for you, isn't it? With all the stress that's in your life anyway. So as I say, you know, making a commitment does help with that. So good, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. So anything else? Oh yes, I do need your email addresses so that I can send stuff to you. So could you each put your email address in the chat? If you want to receive the emails, that is. We certainly need.
You've got mine, David, haven't you? Sorry.
You've
got mine. Yeah.
Okay. It's maybe helpful to have them all in one place anyway, but yeah.
And please, could you put the full title and
I will, yes.
details of the book then?
I was just looking at my notes there, and it says that as well.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I knew you would at some point, but while I'd have forgotten to ask.
You're on the button there, Lindsay. Yeah. It's something I did need to do, and I was just thinking, oh yes, I haven't done that. So this is
Thank you.
And author and everything. It's published, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Yes, it's right. That's the book. And yes, you shouldn't have any trouble getting it online, I don't think. And I will send with the email the scanned document of the first chapter.
Thank you.
Right, so how are we doing? Oh, we've got quite a bit of time, yeah. So I've done all those things that I had those little reminders to do. Yeah. Actually, the only thing left on my list is meditation. So that is the emphasis on this course. And so we will be doing quite a bit each week. But we are a little bit ahead of time. So what I'll do is just open up for questions for a few minutes before we start the meditation. Anybody got any questions? I could talk a little bit about the book, I suppose. Now's your chance. Anything you want to ask about meditation?
Hi, David. Can I go?
Yeah, please.
So I just, it was mainly a sort of question, sort of more general about sort of the the Gelug school, how it sort of currently approaches the shamatha aspect. Okay. Because even though there seems to be sort of it's perhaps not that popular, whatever, Tsongkhapa did devote quite a large chunk of the Lamrim Chem mode to it, right?
Yes.
So it is very much part of the tradition. So there just seems to just observing there was a little bit of a discrepancy kind of there.
Well, absolutely, Adam, and that is precisely why I wanted to do this particular text, because I think it does kind of provide that balance. That it's a very straightforward, approach. The problem, if there's a problem with the Gelug tradition, it's very complex, and because it's so intellectually complex, that can create a bit of a problem with shamatha. You've got all these thoughts in your head and all these 100 different kinds of meditation, and every sort of different meditation that you're taught is, oh, this is the most important meditation you should definitely do every day, and it's like you've got about 50 of them, so you can't do it all every day, and so I think it's not an accident that often in this tradition people say, oh, they struggle with shamatha. And that's why I wanted to spend a whole term just doing this. Technically, actually, Nyanaponika, his name's quite difficult to say, he says very clearly about this, this is a question about, people talk about shamatha and they talk about vipassana, and sometimes vipassana sounds like shamatha, or it sounds like satipatthana, which is mindfulness, which is what? He's very clear about it. And he says that actually the Satipatthana meditation method that is teaching here technically is a Vipassana meditation, because the main emphasis is on, so it is moment by moment mindful awareness of what is going on. There's these 4 foundations of mindfulness: is the mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of the feelings, mindfulness of the mind, consciousness, and then mindfulness of the contents of the mind, mental phenomena, if you like, what happens in the mind. Those are the 4 foundations of mindfulness, so that that covers everything, and the practice is just to be aware for a moment by moment of what is occurring in those 4 domains. And that is pretty much what's usually taught as Vipassana. So it kind of is Vipassana. But at the same time, it seems like it's also, when we talk about shamatha, the actual, what you're doing is you're watching the breathing and, keeping your concentration on the breathing. And then when the mind wanders off, you notice what's happening and then you bring it back to the breath. There are other things that happen as well. but that's the main practice. So, well, surely that's shamatha, or is that mindfulness, or is it shamatha, or is it vipassana? And he says, well, actually, yes, you are practicing shamatha by focusing on the breathing, but the reason you're doing that is to develop clear awareness, and then you bring that into. You can also extend that to other aspects of the practice of mindfulness of the body or the mind or the feelings, and you can do those practices as well, and you can also practice it in daily life. But then at a certain point, you have to take a decision whether you want to follow the insight path, so that your practice is more focused on being aware of the impermanence and emptiness and the quality of dukkha, suffering, the three aspects of reality.
Yeah.
So in this satipatthana practice, that is the main aim. But you can, it also is a route into shamatha. Yeah. So you can at that point, when your practice reaches a certain level, there's a kind of fork in the road. You either go deeper into the shamatha and you don't do such analysis, or you go deeper into the vipassana, the analysis of being aware of the nature of those phenomena. So with respect to the Gelugpa, I think different. Your answer, your question was, what is the attitude to it in the Gelug? Now, well, I think it's very different with different lamas, But in terms of Tsongkhapa, yes, it's absolutely fundamentally important as far as he's concerned. I think the reality is, in the monasteries, the emphasis is on debate and study and memorization. What they're aiming for is, with that 20-year training, is that you really, have that intellectual grasp of emptiness, and you also have the kind of ability to relate that to what's in the scriptures. So as a teacher, that's very important. They're training teachers. But then, it's when you've done all that, that's when you do your shamatha practice. Now, that doesn't really work very well for Westerners, I mean, Geshe Namdak's been through the whole process, but he's like one in a million, So very few Westerners are willing to do that. So I think we have to approach it differently. And as I think as it takes root in the West, it will change, and it will become more, there will be a bigger emphasis on the shamatha training within the, I don't know whether it's, technically, we're not Gelugpas, because the Gelugpa is a monastic order, but we're following that tradition. And so what that tradition develops into in the West, I think it will change. And it is changing. I mean, even in FPMT, which is, there's a lot of kind of emphasis on study and also on Tantra, which is not always, you think, it should be really, shamatha should be a huge part of
prerequisite.
Yeah. But in reality, a lot of the time it's not the case. So there's emphasis on kind of, gaining merit and doing the sadhanas and the visualizations. So I feel like it's a really good idea for us as Westerners to lay this foundation of shamatha and mindfulness training that we can then apply, when we go into the deeper study, then it really will serve us well. And I think, in the basic program, there's a lot of emphasis on meditation. And what I didn't say about this course is that I consciously have planned it as preparation for the basic program, for those that want to go on to do the basic program. That's part of my intention. So, I hope that it will serve that function. I'm a little bit disappointed that the marketing didn't really happen, because I think people that are going to be doing the basic program in a year's time in Leeds, great if they come into the second and third term, but it would have been a good idea to have had this one. I feel like this is like my feeling about this book, is it really kind of makes a very powerful case that whatever form of Buddhism you're practicing, and it relates it to Zen and Mahayana and Vajrayana as well, whatever form of Buddhism you're practicing, this is a really great kind of foundational layer to your practice. If you've got this, then everything else will be more beneficial. You'll make more progress because your mind is kind of more attuned, more receptive, more awake to be able to to receive the benefits of the practice. So I think it's a good foundation. Okay. So we have got another 20 minutes, and that's about what I wanted to do as meditation. So we'll just finish with that, if everyone's okay with that.
Yep.
Okay. So I will just say that there is a recommendation for this practice to sit on a cushion cross-legged if you can, or astride a substantial cushion, or with a meditation bench or whatever. I'm going to say more about the cross-legged sitting posture next week, but for this week, just sit however's comfortable. If it's difficult, it's not a problem. If you want to sit in a chair, it's absolutely okay. But just make sure that your position is comfortable and stable, and that you can have your back straight and upright. And then just allow the body to relax as much as possible. And bring your attention into the body. So just tuning in to whatever's going on in your body right now. If there's physical tension, just move your attention to that place. Gently allowing that tightness to relax and loosen. Maybe slowly scanning down the body from the top of your head. Just noticing any tension in the muscles of the scalp, the temples. Take 1 or 2 breaths in natural rhythm. Just allowing those muscles to relax if you can. Notice any tightness in the muscles of the face and the jaw. Allowing that tension to ease. Moving down to the neck and shoulders. This is where we carry a great deal of the tension from the day. So let the debris of the day settle. Let those shoulders relax. You may want to move them back and forth a little bit just to Allow the muscles to loosen. Notice any tightness in the muscles of the arms and hands and fingers. Moving to the chest and the upper back. Allow any tightness there to loosen off. Let your abdomen just move very freely in and out as you breathe, releasing any tension in the abdominal muscles. Moving down through the pelvic area, to the legs and feet. And at each point, just noticing what muscles are tight. Just letting them loosen off. Feeling your connection to the ground. That solidity and firmness. Let your awareness be grounded. And slowly coming back up the body, releasing any remaining tension if you can. Breathing in and out naturally. And bring your attention to rest at the entrance to the nose. Once again, if you have a regular practice of following the movement of the abdomen, that's okay. But I'm going to give the instruction in terms of focusing on the sensations of the air entering and leaving the nostrils. Just let the rhythm of your breathing be very even and natural, just as it comes. Be aware of the slight coolness of the air as it enters the nose, as it leaves the body. It's being warmed up, so there isn't that coolness. And just see if you can rest your attention there for the full duration of the breath in and out. And then repeat. Just continue to hold your attention there gently but firmly. And whenever the mind wanders off, just simply notice that's happened. Let go of the thought. No need to pursue it at this time. Bring the attention back to the breathing. If you've been sitting for a long time, there may be some discomfort arising that may make it difficult to concentrate on the breathing. So one way to deal with that is instead to just focus your mind on that sensation in a neutral way, just noticing that it's there. What is its nature? It changes moment to moment. And this can be your object of meditation, just simply to be aware of what is occurring in each moment without too much conceptualization, analysis, just, there's some tightness or some soreness or whatever it is. And then when the mind is able to be more at ease with that discomfort, which will happen as a result of the practice, then you can bring your attention back to the breath. In the same way, if there are any thoughts or emotions that are coming up strongly and make it difficult to maintain the attention on the breathing, then again, you can make that thought or that feeling or that emotion the subject of the meditation. Make a clear decision. I will now look at this, observe it. This will be the meditation for a few moments or a few minutes. Notice whatever is going on. Such as, this is irritation, or this is a memory, or this is an emotion of resentment, or whatever it might be that's coming up. And just simply look at it. Observe how it changes and dissolves. And then return the attention to the breath. So whatever comes up in your mind, just try to observe it without any judgment, such as this is good or bad, I'm doing the meditation wrong. No. Practice is just to notice what is there, even if what you're noticing is, my mind is distracted. And by noticing that, you're doing the practice correctly. So we're going to finish with just a verse of dedication. Here's one I haven't prepared earlier, so give me a few moments. I'll just find that. Okay, I'm going to share the screen. Yeah, there we are. Okay, so we'll just do these two prayers. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel, bodhicitta, that has not arisen, arise and grow. And may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, David.
Okay, I'll be in touch by email. Don't forget to contact your buddy.
Nope.
Yeah, I will see you next week. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thanks, David.
Night.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.